Now that it's November, let's talk about what I have been and what I will be practicing every day this month. Hi, I'm Brian from Airflow Music. Welcome back to another video. This is a Go Practice video. This is the first one for November 2022. I hope you're having a great day today. Now, it's been a few days since the last video. I did daily videos in October, and I'll be doing frequent videos in November, but not every day. Most days though. My plan is to do at least 20 this month. So there still should be plenty of content for you out there. In this particular video, I'm introducing a new set of daily drills, and I've made a couple of changes here and expanded these slightly because what these represent now are the basics that I will be hitting in my own practice every single day. In fact, have been hitting every single day in my own practice this month. Having thought about this, I'm figuring that these three exercises, which are included in this daily drill set, are going to represent the bare minimum that I need to basically cover my fundamentals and make sure that everything stays on track for me. So it's very slightly expanded from what we've done in daily drills before, but not too much, and like I say, I think it should be useful. So in this video we're going to go through all the three exercise sets that are in this set of drills. Although moving through the month, I'm probably not going to play all of the daily drills in every video every day. It's part of the other thing that I'll be changing up this month, just to keep it a little more manageable to make the videos, and so we can focus a little more in depth on one exercise at a time. Maybe go back and fix some things, or discuss a little more what we're dealing with if you have questions about them. So that'll be another change. Anyway, as I say, we now have three exercises in the daily drills rather than two. We have our stability drill, as we have been doing, our motion drill, also as we have been doing, but now I'm adding a tonguing drill. For those of you who watched during October, you know that I was reminded of the 5-bar tonguing exercise, a particular static tonguing thing that I used to practice very often, and I was reminded of it and realised that I like it and find it very important to keeping things well together for myself. So a version of that has been added in as well. That's our third exercise. So without too much further ado, let's get into playing some things. The new set is Daily Drill Set 11. You can of course find the link to get the free downloadable PDF from the Airflow Music online store. And since it's been a question by email a couple of times this week, what you need to do is go over there, add this to cart and check out. You can do that completely for free, although if you do choose to make a contribution to help the upkeep of the channel, that's always very gratefully appreciated. But it's not necessary. These are ostensibly available for free, but you do need to add it to cart and check out. Okay, and then you'll be able to access your downloads from the My Account section of the website. With that bit of business taken care of, let's get into our stability drill, the first drill. We're making a slight change with this one from what we did last time. In set 10 we introduced the static bend, or the reverse bend, where we maintain the same pitch but we move the valves to the fingering for a higher note. Those are still in there this time, but in this one I've also added a regular half-step bend, a more traditional bend if you will. So we've now got both in this version of the exercise. You can see it on screen right now, and this is fairly straight ahead. We start out on our pitch, we move to the static bend, back to the main pitch, then make the half-step bend, under, back to our pitch. There's a sequence in every single phrase of this exercise, and we're going to follow our expanding series as we have been. Now, once again, this is a long setting exercise, so we're going to be keeping the mouthpiece on our lips throughout the entire thing, and breathing through our nose on the rest bar. I'm focusing on playing in time, so the metronome is going at 60 beats a minute. I'm tapping my foot and mentally subdividing the beat to try and play as on time as I can. And the other bit of business with this, with the regular bend, the traditional bend, the half-step bend, I want you to be careful to really travel the full distance of that bend, as Laurie Frink used to say. We've got to really make sure we portamento down into this and not just do something funny quickly with our chops to move that down. A note bend is really not a thing that is accomplished with the lips. It's an airflow thing. And so just keep that in mind and try and listen for the portamento that you'll hear me make, the real smooth slide into the bend as I do this each time. Not too much else to say, and that's probably plenty, so let's get into playing this thing. Here is set 11, exercise 1. Okay, so there's our exercise 1 from this set. A little bit different to what we did before, as you can hear and see, but fun to play. And as usual with these, I found these to be really good for getting my response happening, particularly with the bends in both directions. Lets me really get a handle on where the slot of each note is, where the biggest feeling part of that note is, and really just get zoned in there, which will help my overall intonation and feel for playing later in the day. So let's move on to exercise 2. This is another motion drill, and as you've seen with these before, these are part flexibility and part scale pattern in all 12 keys. You'll see it on the screen right now. The pattern's slightly different. On this occasion, there's a lot of notes here and a lot of things to deal with. So for right now, we're going to take this a little slowly and skip the last repeat for the time being. I'm going to repeat the bar with the flexibility type pattern, but I'm not going to repeat the scale section, the 4-bar repeat at the end. That way we should be able to go decently slowly to stumble our way through this for the first time. Make sure we're clear on what our major scales are here and just get through it a little bit easier. Then in the next day or two, as we get this moving a little bit faster, then we'll be able to add that repeat and the articulation in. So I'm just going to play this slurred all the way through with no second repeat for the time being. The tempo I'm going to go at for this right now is 72 beats a minute. So we're still moving a little bit, and it's still going to keep us aware and alert, trying to get our fingers down on time to make these scale patterns, particularly in some of those keys that tend to trouble us if we're not super familiar with them. The last thing I should say is that to keep this moving along for play-along purposes, I'm going to make 3 bars rest in between each key. Here is set 11 exercise 2 with no second repeat at 72 beats a minute. So there's set 11, exercise 2. We're getting a little more range into these now, and also just trying to keep moving and develop that scale in a slightly different way, just to keep us familiar with our keys. Now, for myself, I had a couple of problems there. On the B flat major early on, I didn't breathe well. If you look back at that, then you'll see that I didn't engage my breath support properly. My chest totally collapsed as I was playing, and so I was out of air by the end. But then some of the lower keys, which would require more air, I was absolutely fine on, because I kept that breath support in place. That's always worth keeping an eye out for, particularly if you struggle with maintaining your way all the way through some of these longer phrases. Other than that, there was some unfamiliarity with a couple of keys. The D flat major wasn't so great. There was a blip in the F sharp major as well, I think. But reasonably smooth, not too bad, not as even as I might like it to be. But that's a stumble through of the exercise. I've only been playing this one for a day or two, so I'm still getting to grips with it myself. But that's an interesting one to play, and I think we'll enjoy it as we move forward with it, get it going a little bit faster, and are able to engage the repeat on the scale as well. Really challenge our breath control, get some articulation involved also. Anyway, let's move on. We've got the extra components in this set, which is the static tonguing drill, exercise 3. Now, this is a variation on the 5-bar exercise, which was an exercise of the week number 8, I think, that we covered last month, and I really enjoyed playing that. I've been finding that that really helps me keep my chops together in a really nice way. It improves my articulation, of course, but also just for embouchure strength and endurance through long gigs and things like that. It's really been helping me out. So we're making a slightly shorter variation. In exercise of the week 8, this was a 5-bar exercise, a 5-bar repeated rhythmic pattern. I'm going to make that a 4-bar pattern on this occasion, and I'm keeping it really simple. I'm just doing 2 bars of 16th notes or semiquavers, followed by a whole bar hold, then the 1-bar rest. It'll make this a little shorter, and for myself, I'm cutting to the chase a little bit. I find, particularly when I get to higher tempos, that 2 bars of 16th notes is enough to reveal my tongue slowing down in longer tongued phrases. So what we're actually going to do with this one is slow it down for this first time out. I'm going to play this at 80 beats a minute, just to give us a chance to get to grips with this tonguing style. I'm treating this as quite a gentle tenuto tongue, so I'm trying to keep the air flowing at all times, not stop and start too much, and aim for no particular gaps in between notes, just to make sure the tongue is moving and so is the air at all times. As we get into this, we can change that up and make it more staccato, which is something, depending on the music you play, you might use a little more often. But this is a really good way of getting some things together and getting some fundamentals of our tonguing really happening. This is 3 parts as it was before, and we're following the same sequence of notes. So we play the rhythmic pattern on each note in the sequence. The first sequence, part 1, or 3A on the sheet, is a sequence of notes chromatically from low C down to low F sharp. And so let's get into playing that. Here's part 1 of exercise 3. There's exercise 3 part 1 to get us started. Relatively easy going right now. We are playing this as a long setting, of course, keeping the mouthpiece on our lips throughout and breathing through our nose on that rest bar. I expect I probably forgot to mention that. But you've most probably also played this exercise or the other version of it with me fairly recently too. Anyway, let's move on to part 2 of this. Now the rhythmic pattern stays the same. It's also a long setting, but the sequence of notes changes. We're going from low C chromatically upwards towards high C. And the goal here is to get as far as we can in the long setting. With a couple of caveats. I don't want you to force, so the time to break the setting is not necessarily when I break the setting in the video, but at the point where your notes either start to air out on you, or you really start to feel like you're forcing or manipulating or pressing or any of those bad things. That's the point at which we're going to take a 15 to 20 second break, reset, and then start again from the same note that we left off on, and then continue up through the pattern. We're just going to make one break and get as far towards high C as we can. Now, wherever that happens to be for you, it doesn't matter. Just note where you got to and see if you can do better tomorrow. That's the rule with this one. I expect that with one break I'll probably make it to high C because I've been playing this sort of thing every day lately. If it goes well, I may even make it to high C without breaking the setting. I don't know. I'll record the exercise right after I record this segment, so we'll find out together. Okay? So here's part 2. This is a long setting. We're breathing through our nose on the break. I'm playing this at a comfortably soft volume. We've talked about this before. Not so soft that I have to pinch, but on the soft side, so I can just play nice and easy and be nice and free with my air and just let the tongue do the work of making the articulation. Here's exercise 3 part 2 at 80 beats a minute again. Okay, up to the B flat. That's pretty good going, but I have a couple of thoughts about that I'll share in a moment. Let's play the end of this. Exercise 3 part 2 was pretty okay. I did fairly well with it on the whole. The thing I found, you may have noticed at one point kind of earlier on, I took my left hand off the horn for a moment because I found that I was really strong arming with my left arm, really gripping hard and really pulling in somewhat. And I noticed that again towards the end of part 2 there, when I was getting up towards my last notes before it finally faded out on me on the B flat. And that was a left hand pressure thing. So that's something for me that I need to be a bit more aware of, and probably moving forward I'll try to play this without my little finger in the pinky ring on the right hand, with that taken out of there, and also just generally try and be a little lighter in my left hand grip. I need to find a balance point with this, and the long setting is kind of encouraging me to strong arm a little and be a little too brutish about it. That's something I need to pay attention to, and something I will be paying attention to in the coming days as I play this. If you've been having a similar experience, or you feel like you're developing a lot of mouthpiece pressure, that may be something to look out for yourself. I'm certainly going to be cognizant of it as I play part 3, which is what's coming now to cool these things down. So let's get on with that. So this is a repeat of part 1, same rhythmic pattern, still a long setting, just down through low C down to low F sharp once again. Here's part 3. That's part 3 done. So that means that we've done all of our statutory exercises for the day, if you like. At least the ones that we're dealing with the video. And I'm feeling in decent shape to move forward with the other playing commitments of the day now. So this should be good. I have to run out of here shortly and go to a rehearsal, and then get on an airplane later. When I see you tomorrow, I'll be in a hotel room in Miami, which should hopefully be very pleasant. We shall see. Anyway, I digress. This has been a longer video because we're going through all the exercises in the new set today. But moving forward, as I said, I probably won't play all the exercises in every video, just to shorten these things down a little bit and give you a chance to be able to focus a little bit as well. I personally will be playing these every day, even if I don't make a video every day, because I am traveling some this month, and so it's going to get tricky with scheduling. But I will be practicing them every day, and I hope you do too. Anyway, this has been a longer video, so thanks very much if you've hung in with me to this point. You're one of the stalwart few, I'm sure. But that's all I have for you in this one. So if you've enjoyed the exercises and playing along with me, please do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will be back with another video tomorrow, although probably a somewhat shorter one. And until then, thanks very much for watching and go practice.